Malta, the small island in the heart of the Mediterranean, is a fairy tale gem adorned with historical heritage, blue seas, and charming towns. From the silent city of Mdina with its winding stone streets, to Valletta, the lively capital blending Baroque architecture with modern touches, visitors feel as though they are walking through time between the past and the present. From the Blue Grotto, with its shimmering sea caves, to Golden Bay, where the sun sets in brilliant red over golden sands, Malta is the perfect stop for those seeking the pristine beauty of nature. From the colourful fishing village of Marsaxlokk, with its traditional Ludzu boats, to the majestic Cittadella on Gozo Island, every corner of Malta carries its own story, reflecting the deep culture and proud Mediterranean spirit. Malta is not just a holiday destination, but an experience rich in identity, where every step is a living film of time, the sea, and its people. The salt pans are one of the island's most unique man-made landscapes, where the centuries-old tradition of salt harvesting is still preserved. Stretching for hundreds of meters along the coast, carefully carved limestone squares form a network of salt pans under the sun, reflecting shimmering light like a giant mirror. The scene here is both rustic and captivating. The turquoise sea waves crash against the shore. The wind carries the salty breath of the ocean, while crystallized salt glitters like tiny white gems under the summer sun. Visiting the salt pans in the morning, travelers can witness locals harvesting salt, each movement deeply tied to the rhythm of the sea over generations. Nestled within towering limestone cliffs, the inland sea in San Lorenzo is a unique saltwater lagoon, fed by the open sea through a narrow tunnel carved through the rock. From above, the emerald green lagoon looks like a hidden gem, tucked within the raw nature of Gozo. The water is crystal clear, with gentle ripples reflecting the sky and the pale golden limestone. Small wooden boats rest quietly along the shore, ready to take visitors through the dark rocky passage where flickering light leads the way out to the deep blue sea. The atmosphere here carries a rare tranquility. Birds echo along the cliffs, the wind brings the salty breath of the ocean, and the lagoon changes color with the sunlight, from light green in the morning to deep blue in the evening. Locals still live in rhythm with nature, working patiently as fishermen. Xlendi in Mangsa is a small, picturesque bay on the southwest coast of the island, where towering limestone cliffs embrace the crystal-clear emerald waters. Once a humble fishing village, Xlendi still preserves its rustic charm, while becoming a favorite stop for many visitors thanks to its peaceful beauty. The sea at Xlendi is calm, with gentle waves reflecting the high cliffs covered in Mediterranean shrubs. Narrow paths along the bay lead to a small, sandy beach where locals and tourists swim, snorkel among corals, or enjoy leisurely boat rides. In the afternoon, sunlight bathes the cliffs in golden hues, making the scene even more romantic. The Blue Lagoon on Comino Island is one of Malta's most famous destinations, often described as a giant natural swimming pool in the Mediterranean. Located between mainland Malta and Gozo, it captivates visitors with its extraordinarily clear turquoise waters, so transparent that the seabed can be seen. The water is calm, with sunlight casting shades of turquoise, blue, and deep sapphire, blending like liquid crystal. White sandy shores and surrounding limestone cliffs create a setting both wild and radiant, making it a paradise for swimming, snorkeling, and kayaking. The Upper Baraka Gardens in Valletta are the capital's most famous public gardens, located atop the St. Peter and Paul Bastion. This space is not only a refreshing green oasis within the fortress city, but also offers breathtaking panoramic views of the Grand Harbour and the three ancient cities across the water. The gardens are shaded by trees, with stone-paved paths winding through colourful flower beds and elegant limestone columns. Sculptures and fountains add an atmosphere both dignified and relaxing, making it a place where locals and visitors alike stop to rest, stroll, or chat. Fort Saint Elmo in Valletta is one of Malta's most important fortresses, located in a strategic position at the entrance of the Grand Harbour and Marsaxlokk Harbour. Built in the 16th century by the Knights of St. John, this structure once played a decisive role in many battles to defend the island nation. The fortress features the star-shaped architecture typical of Renaissance European military design, with solid walls, moats, and winding passages to resist intrusions. The traces of cannons, watchtowers, and ancient archways remain, evoking a glorious past. Today, Fort Saint Elmo is not only an ancient defensive structure, but also home to the National War Museum. Inside, visitors can learn about Malta's military history from the time of the Knights, the Great Siege of 1565, up to World War II. St. John's Co-Cathedral is considered a masterpiece of Baroque architecture and art in Malta. Built in the late 16th century by the Order of St. John, the cathedral not only holds religious significance, but also reflects the power and wealth of the knights during their golden age. On the outside, the cathedral appears modest, with its square limestone facade resembling the resilience of a fortress. But upon entering, the scene unfolds in breathtaking grandeur. Intricately inlaid marble floors, walls and ceilings covered in gilded carvings, frescoes, and elaborate patterns. Each chapel inside the cathedral is dedicated to different langues of the Order of St. John, reflecting the international nature and cultural diversity of Malta at the time. The highlight is Caravaggio's masterpiece, The Beheading of St. John, displayed in the oratory, making this place one of the foremost artistic landmarks of the Mediterranean. St. John's Co-Cathedral is not only a space of prayer, but also a living museum, preserving art and history. In the dim light filtering through the high windows, the entire interior seems to come alive, a testimony to the wondrous intersection of spirituality, power, and art on the island of Malta. Blue Grotto is one of Malta's most striking natural landmarks, famous for its magical system of sea caves. The main cave opens like a giant dome, leading into smaller caves adorned with natural stalactites and crystal-clear water. In the morning, when the sun shines at the right angle, the entire surface glows with a mystical blue, making Blue Grotto a paradise for photographers and nature lovers. Visitors can take a traditional wooden boat, weaving through the caves to admire the magical shifts of color from every perspective. Beyond the cave itself, the waters around Blue Grotto are also famous for coral reefs, colorful fish, and a rich destination for diving enthusiasts. Above the cave, steep cliffs overlook the deep blue Mediterranean, where the sea breeze blows strong and the waves crash endlessly. The harmony of rock, sea, and light makes Blue Grotto not just a cave, but a living natural masterpiece, where the power and beauty of the ocean converge. The Cittadella in Victoria is an ancient fortress standing proudly on a hilltop, long considered the historic heart of the island. This structure has existed since the Middle Ages and once served as a refuge and protection for the people of Gozo against invasions from across the Mediterranean. Passing through the solid stone gate, visitors step back in time, wandering into a maze of narrow streets paved with golden limestone. Towering walls ancient chapels, and military bastions still bearing traces of history create a solemn and contemplative atmosphere. Walking through the narrow alleys, visitors can sense the spirit of Maltese culture in old houses, small museums, and stories of the lives of Gozo's past residents. The place reflects both religious character and the resilience of the community in the face of historical challenges. From the ramparts of the Cittadella, the panorama of Gozo unfolds: lush valleys, peaceful villages, and the deep blue Mediterranean stretching endlessly to the horizon. That moment leaves visitors with a sense of awe and nostalgia, as if standing at the intersection of past and present. Standing tall at the entrance of Xlendi Bay, Fungus Rock is a massive limestone block separated from the mainland, tied to both legend and Malta's history. Locals call it the Mushroom Rock because it once hosted a rare medicinal herb used by the Knights of Malta as a healing remedy. The rock rises nearly 60 meters high, its dark grey surface standing out amid the deep blue waters of the Mediterranean. Waves constantly crash against its base, spraying white foam and creating a scene that is both majestic and mysterious. On clear days, sunlight shines down, making Fungus Rock appear like a proud, natural fortress in the open sea. This site is also an important part of the Xlendi ecosystem, with crystal-clear waters and rich marine life attracting many seabirds to nest. Its raw landscape, silent atmosphere, and salty sea breeze give visitors the impression of facing the primal power of nature. The Lower Baraka Gardens is a peaceful garden located on the edge of the St. Christopher Bastion, offering a different perspective of the Grand Harbour compared to the Upper Baraka Gardens. The space here is smaller, less crowded, but exudes its own serene and romantic charm. The stone-paved path leading into the garden is surrounded by greenery and colourful flower beds. At the centre stands out a Greek-style monument, the Temple of Neptune, with its stately columns creating an elegant architectural highlight amidst the lush green lawn. Scattered stone benches provide ideal spots for visitors to rest. Amid the bustling fortress city, this small garden separates itself with a tranquil atmosphere. Only the sound of birds, the breeze passing through the trees, and the faint fragrance of flowers. This stillness makes the Lower Baraka Gardens a perfect stop to relax the soul before continuing the exploration of Valletta. Verdala Palace in Sigiwi is the summer residence of the President of Malta, and also one of the island's oldest and most majestic palaces. Built in the late 16th century during the rule of Grandmaster Hugues Luberns de Verdala, the structure clearly reflects the power and wealth of the Order of St. John. The palace has the architecture of a fortified castle with thick limestone walls, square corner towers, and rows of large windows. Inside, spacious halls, stone staircases, and rooms decorated with paintings and antique woodwork still preserve their traditional grandeur. Surrounding Verdala Palace is the lush Busket Gardens, which were also planted during the time of the Knights to serve hunting and leisure purposes. Shaded walkways, citrus orchards, and bird song create a poetic atmosphere, offering a charming contrast to the palace's stern architecture. From afar, the entire structure stands out amid the greenery of the forest, like an ancient fortress guarding the land of Sigiwi. The blend of the palace's majestic architecture and the richness of nature makes Verdala Palace one of the most distinctive symbols of Malta's history and landscape. Verdala Palace in Sigiwi is the summer residence of the President of Malta, and also one of the island's oldest and most majestic palaces. Built in the late 16th century during the rule of Grandmaster Hugues Luberns de Verdala, the structure clearly reflects the power and wealth of the Order of St. John. The palace has the architecture of a fortified castle with thick limestone walls, square corner towers, and rows of large windows. Inside, spacious halls, stone staircases, and rooms decorated with paintings and antique woodwork still preserve their traditional grandeur. Surrounding Verdala Palace is the lush Busket Gardens, which were also planted during the time of the Knights to serve hunting and leisure purposes. Shaded walkways, citrus orchards, and bird song create a poetic atmosphere, offering a charming contrast to the palace's stern architecture. From afar, the entire structure stands out amid the greenery of the forest, like an ancient fortress guarding the land of Sigiwi. The blend of the palace's majestic architecture and the richness of nature makes Verdala Palace one of the most distinctive symbols of Malta's history and landscape. St. Helen's Gate in Cospicua is an ancient city gate built in the 18th century, tied to the defensive system of the three cities. The gate is constructed from Malta's characteristic golden limestone, with a majestic archway and fine decorative details. At the top, the emblem of St. Helen and the crest of the Knights of St. John remain visible, recalling the era when Malta stood as a stronghold in the Mediterranean. Passing through the gate reveals two contrasting worlds. Outside lies the open road leading to the bustling harbour, while inside spreads a network of narrow streets, old houses, and small squares of Cospicua. This transition makes St. Helens Gate a true landmark, marking the boundary between military history. Today, St. Helens Gate is not only an architectural relic, but also a highlight of the urban landscape. Among modern streets that continue to change, the gate still stands, weathered yet enduring, like a doorway opening onto Cospicua's long and storied past. Valletta, the small yet majestic capital of Malta, is a fortress city built on a limestone peninsula facing the Mediterranean Sea. Constructed in the 16th century by the Knights of St. John, Valletta today still preserves its ancient grandeur almost intact and has been recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The city impresses with its massive walls, ancient archways, and sloping stone-paved streets leading down to the harbors. Rows of golden limestone houses with wooden balconies, painted in bright blue, red, and yellow gleam in the sunlight, creating a distinctive and unmistakable character. Walking through its streets, visitors encounter a blend of history and modern life. Lively squares, magnificent Baroque churches, cozy cafes, and museums preserving stories from hundreds of years. The atmosphere is both solemn and vibrant. From the fortresses and ramparts looking outwards, the Mediterranean opens wide, with ships sailing in and out of the Grand Harbour and Marsaxlokk Harbour. The combination of solid architecture and the vast seascape gives Valletta a natural grandeur, a city seemingly carved between sky and sea. In the heart of Valletta, the Grandmaster's palace rises with solemn grandeur, its golden limestone facade once the highest seat of power in Malta. Since the 16th century, this palace served as the residence of the Grand Masters of the Order of St. John, and later became the political symbol of the island. The exterior, with its arched gates and symmetrical rows of windows, conveys an air of dignity. Inside, the space unfolds in splendor, ceilings covered with frescoes, vast halls, and paintings depicting the knights' historic battles. Two highlights are the staterooms, where ceremonial events are held, and the palace armory, an immense collection preserving armor, swords, and spears from past centuries. Each artifact is like a vivid fragment of Malta's history. Walking along the stone-paved corridors and through airy courtyards, visitors admire not only the magnificence but also sense the echoes of history still lingering. The Grandmaster's palace is not just a palace, but a living memory of Valletta in the heart of the Mediterranean. The Valletta waterfront is a historic harbour front stretching along Marsaxlokk harbour, originally built in the 18th century under the Knights of St. John. Once a warehouse complex and a major trading hub, today the area has become one of Malta's liveliest stops. Golden limestone buildings with tall arched doorways painted in bright colours, blue, red, yellow, orange, stand out under the sunlight, their reflections shimmering on the harbour's surface. The blend of classical architecture and the open seaside setting creates an atmosphere both dignified and vibrant. Now, Valletta waterfront is filled with restaurants, cafes, souvenir shops, and entertainment venues where visitors can enjoy Maltese cuisine while watching ships come and go. In the evening, the golden lights of the row of buildings glow over the water, creating a dazzling, enchanting scene. More than just a leisure spot, this area is tied to the sea itself. The steady sound of waves, the salty Mediterranean breeze, and the sight of sailboats and yachts rocking offshore. Valletta waterfront thus preserves its historic past while opening onto a lively seafront space of Malta. St. Agatha's Tower in Meliahar, often called the Red Tower, is a coastal fortress distinguished by its characteristic brick red color, standing on a high hill overlooking the northern panorama of Malta. Built in the 17th century under the Knights of St. John, it once served as an important outpost in the island's defense system. The fortress has a solid square shape, with sturdy watchtowers at each corner and stone walls up to 2 yards thick to resist cannon fire. Inside, a narrow staircase leads to the rooftop, where cannons and soldiers once watched over the open sea. Its architecture is both simple and strong, perfectly reflecting its military purpose. Today, the Red Tower has been restored and opened to the public. From above, visitors can gaze out toward Gozo, Comino, and the blue expanse of Xlendi Bay, one of the most impressive panoramic views in Malta. Standing on the rooftop with the sea breeze rushing through, looking at the endless ocean and the Mediterranean hills rolling beneath, St. Agatha's Tower recalls its strategic past while showcasing the majestic beauty of Malta's surrounding nature. St. Julian's is a famous seaside town on the northeast coast of Malta, where modern life, entertainment, and the Mediterranean colors blend in a lively atmosphere. Spinola Bay, the heart of St. Julian's, still preserves its classic charm, with colorful traditional lazu boats anchored along the shore. Surrounding the bay are cafes, seafood restaurants, and a stone-paved promenade, creating an atmosphere both romantic and bustling. A bit further lies Passville, famous for its vibrant nightlife, bars, clubs, and casinos shining brightly until late at night. This contrast makes St. Julian's both poetic by the bay and dazzling after dark, unlike anywhere else. Beyond the urban scene, St. Julian's also offers small beaches with refreshing turquoise waters and coastal paths filled with sea breezes. The embrace of the Mediterranean frames the town's modern rhythm, making St. Julian's an essential stop in any journey to discover Malta. Senglia is a small town jutting out into the Grand Harbour, where military history and daily life intertwine in a very unique atmosphere. Within the town, narrow alleys shaded by colourful wooden balconies weave past small squares with local cafes. Life here is not noisy, but filled with a seaside village charm. Simple, yet full of harmony. A highlight is the Garjola Gardens, a small park at the tip of the peninsula. The Il Garjola watchtower, carved with eyes and ears symbolizing vigilance, has today become a symbol of Senglia's peace. It carries both historical value and serves as a perfect viewpoint over the harbour city. Surrounding Senglia, the blue waters of the Grand Harbour stretch wide, with boats passing and reflecting the sky upon the surface. Amid this scenery, the little town retains its gentle charm, a quiet but essential piece of Malta's colourful mosaic. Ta Ċenċ Cliffs in Sannat are the highest coastal cliffs in Malta, rising more than 100 meters above the Mediterranean Sea. Stretching along the southern shore of Gozo, the site reveals a majestic, wild, and powerful natural landscape. The towering grey-white cliffs, eroded by wind and waves, form rugged and unique shapes. Below, the blue sea crashes fiercely, spraying white foam like an endless symphony of the ocean. In the afternoon, when golden sunlight falls on the rocks, the cliffs glow brightly, contrasting with the deep blue of the sea. This area is also a haven for seabirds, especially the shearwater, making Ta Ċenċ an exciting destination for nature lovers and wildlife observers. The atmosphere here is tranquil, broken only by the sound of wind, birds, and waves. The Azure Window was once Malta's most famous natural landmark, a massive limestone arch stretching into the Mediterranean Sea. Its shape, like a window to the sky, opening onto the endless blue of sea and sky, made it a world-renowned attraction. The arch stood nearly 30 meters tall, carved over thousands of years by wind and waves, creating a scene both majestic and romantic. Visitors once flocked to the Azure Window to admire its grandeur, especially on clear days when the sea reflected the sunlight, making the stone structure glow even brighter. Dingli Cliffs in Dingli are the highest cliffs in Malta, rising about 250 meters above sea level and stretching along the island's southwest coast. The white-grey limestone cliffs, eroded by wind and waves over thousands of years, form rugged surfaces full of strength. At the summit lie terraced fields, Mediterranean shrubs, and small stone houses scattered across the land, creating a landscape both wild and deeply tied to local life. Dingli Cliffs are also an ideal spot for nature lovers and hikers. The trail along the edge leads visitors through wildflowers and opens to breathtaking views of the tiny island of Filfla, out in the sea. The atmosphere here is often serene, filled only with the sound of wind whistling and waves crashing below. On clear days, from Dingli Cliffs, one can see all the way to the horizon, where the blue of sea and sky merge into one. The majestic scenery and wild atmosphere make this one of the most impressive natural viewpoints in Malta. Popeye is a colorful wooden village located on the coast of Anchor Bay, built in 1980 as the set for the Hollywood film Popeye. The wooden houses painted in blue, red and yellow stand side by side, with slanted roofs that look as if they came out of a cartoon. Small wooden paths wind around, along with a windmill, a pier, and an old boat, all contributing to a cheerful and lively atmosphere. Visitors strolling through the village feel as if they have stepped into a fairy tale world. Today, Popeye offers many exciting experiences: outdoor performances, games, photo opportunities with cartoon characters, or boat rides around the bay to admire the village from afar. For children, it is a playground paradise. For adults, it brings back childhood memories. Surrounding the village is the vibrant Mediterranean scenery: turquoise water, towering limestone cliffs, and a clear sky. The combination of the village's joyful colors and the wild natural beauty makes Popeye a unique destination, both distinctive and full of life. Fort Verdala is one of the lesser-known fortresses, yet it played a special role in Malta's defensive system. Built in the 19th century under British rule, the structure was erected on elevated ground overlooking the Grand Harbour, both to monitor the port and to protect the city from potential attacks. The fort follows typical military architecture: thick stone walls, square bastions, narrow passages, and gun emplacements facing the sea. Although not as massive as Fort Saint Angelo, Fort Verdala served as an important strategic support point during the period when Malta became a naval base of the British Empire. Throughout the 20th century, it was used as army barracks and later as a military school, before being closed and fading into relative obscurity. Its shifting functions over time have made the fort a silent witness to the history of Cospicua. Today, Fort Verdala is not widely open to visitors, but from the outside, the structure still stands prominently against the blue sky and above the streets below. Amid the daily life of Cospicua, this solemn fortress remains a reminder of the military role that once shaped the fate of the port city. Marsaxlokk is the most famous fishing village in Malta, located in the southeast of the island, where the calm blue sea embraces the colorful harbor. The name Marsaxlokk comes from Arabic and Sicilian, meaning southeast wind harbor, reflecting the region's long connection with the sea. The scenery here is defined by traditional wooden boats called luzu, with the eyes of Osiris painted on their bows, believed to protect fishermen. Hundreds of boats are moored close together, reflecting on the turquoise waters, creating a lively and truly Mediterranean picture. Marsaxlokk is also famous for its bustling fish market, held along the harbour every Sunday. Here, freshly caught seafood is sold alongside vegetables and local produce, reflecting the humble yet energetic rhythm of life in this fishing community. Around the village, the natural landscape still retains its pristine charm. Long, rocky shores, clear bays, and salty breezes carrying the scent of the sea. Within this picture, Marsaxlokk appears not only as a tourist destination, but also as the soul of Malta's maritime culture, simple, authentic, and full of life. Golden Bay is one of the most famous beaches in Malta, located on the northwest coast of the island near Mdina. It was named after its golden sand that shines under the Mediterranean sun, creating a warm and radiant scene. The beach is wide, with fine sand stretching along the shore, and calm, clear blue waters, making it ideal for families as well as travelers who enjoy relaxation. The waves are usually gentle, and the shallow waters make Golden Bay a safe spot for swimming, sunbathing, or enjoying water sports. Surrounding the beach are high limestone cliffs and hills covered with Mediterranean shrubs. On sunny days, the blue of the sea, the golden of the sand, and the white-grey of the cliffs form a harmonious natural painting, giving the landscape both grandeur and charm. Golden Bay is also a favorite place for camping or hosting seaside barbecues. With the sea breeze blowing softly and the waves rhythmically touching the shore, the whole setting radiates tranquility, offering visitors the perfect experience of a Maltese summer. Rabat is the town located just outside the walls of Mdina, regarded as a place that preserves important layers of Malta's history and faith. Quiet and unpretentious, Rabat offers visitors a sense of closeness, simplicity, and connection to the everyday life of the locals. Strolling through Rabat, one easily encounters narrow stone-paved streets, golden limestone houses with traditionally painted wooden balconies, and the slow-paced atmosphere characteristic of Malta's countryside. Small statues of saints often appear on the walls, evoking a mood both simple and sacred. Rabat is famous for its ancient catacombs, including the catacombs of St. Paul and the catacombs of St. Agatha, evidence of the early presence of Christianity on the island. Monasteries, churches, and scattered historical sites within the town also contribute to its unique cultural depth. Beyond the town streets, the scenery shifts to fields and vineyards stretching to the horizon. Verdant nature, combined with historic architecture, makes Rabat a portrait that is both contemplative and full of life, leaving a lasting impression of a humble yet tradition-rich Malta. Sliema is one of the most vibrant seaside towns on the island. blending modern life with reminders of history. Along the coastline runs a long promenade, offering sweeping views of the deep blue Mediterranean. It is filled with people walking, jogging, cycling, and enjoying the salty sea breeze. Cafes, restaurants, and shops line the road, creating a lively atmosphere that still feels open thanks to the expansive seaside setting. Behind the modern face, Sliema still preserves many historical landmarks. Limestone fortifications, old churches, and military remnants from the era of the Knights of St. John. These stand silently beside modern high-rises, serving as a reminder of the area's important strategic past. From Sliema's shore, looking across the water, the golden walls of Valletta rise proudly. The blend of the vast seascape and the ancient architecture in the distance gives Sliema a beauty that is both modern and deeply connected to Malta's historical soul. Birgu, also known as Vittoriosa, is one of the ancient three cities by the Grand Harbour, once serving as the headquarters of the Order of St. John when they arrived in Malta in the 16th century. This small city is surrounded by solid fortifications, with arched gates, narrow stone-paved streets, and golden limestone houses. Painted wooden balconies, statues of saints on the walls, and old iron lanterns create a setting that is both rustic and sacred. Birgu stands out with its many historical landmarks. Fort Saint Elmo, majestically guarding the harbour entrance. The Inquisitor's Palace, recalling a unique chapter of Malta's past, and countless churches and monasteries still echoing with evening bells. These legacies clearly reflect the city's deep ties to religion, military, and culture. From the fortifications, visitors can admire the deep blue waters of the Grand Harbour, where boats sway at the docks facing the stately Valletta. Nature and history intertwine, making Birgu an open-air living museum where past and present walk side by side. Melieha Bay is the largest natural sandy beach in Malta, located to the north of the town of Melieha. With its long, gently sloping shoreline and clear waters, it has long been a favorite destination for both locals and visitors. The beach exudes a gentle charm, fine golden sand stretching far, calm rolling waves, and shallow waters, safe for families with children. In summer, the bright blue sky blends with the crystal clear water, creating a lively and vibrant atmosphere. Beyond swimming, Melieha Bay is ideal for water sports such as kayaking, windsurfing, and motorboating. Along the sandy shore, small cafes and seafood restaurants serve fresh dishes, bringing a lively yet friendly vibe. Surrounding the bay are rolling hills and the green landscapes typical of the Mediterranean. As the sea breeze gently flows through the coastal trees, Melieha Bay emerges like a radiant summer painting where sea and sand unite in peace and warmth.